If your dog faces car anxiety or stress once the car is moving, perhaps your dog actually even gets stressed even if the car is being still and isn't moving, or perhaps your dog is so bad that he just puts on the brakes and he doesn't even want to approach the car. As soon as he sees you grab your keys and the leash, he's like, I'm not going, that's not happening. If your dog is facing car anxiety, then in this video I'm giving you a tutorial on how to treat your dog's stress to make your dog feel more calm and safe in the car. Let's get into it. What's up guys, it's Jen with Dog Liaison, where I coach you on how to enhance your dog's mental health. I'm a professional dog trainer. I exclusively work with dogs facing stress, anxiety related disorders. And in my signature program, the Recovering Rover program, we coach our guardians through treating their dog's anxiety. Many of the times that includes car anxiety. That is definitely part of our curriculum. In this video, I really want to give you an insight into that curriculum a little bit, share some of our secrets with you. The first is you need to know what your starting point is. You need to know actually what your dog's threshold is. Let me show you what I mean. So the first step of treating your dog's anxiety is really to get a baseline on what your dog is actually comfortable with, how comfortable he is inside the car. So here we have Alpha, and Alpha will get in the car technically, but the whole time he's demonstrating that hyper scanning. We can see really wrinkled ears, heavy panting. There's a lot of stress behaviors that get demonstrated over these 7 minutes. A lot of scanning. He keeps moving his booty a little bit. Something to note is that one of the reasons dogs get uncomfortable in cars is because sometimes they have a hard time adjusting their weight depending on the turns, depending on the brakes, and the acceleration. So when you're training, those are things you want to train for. But at these early stages, these are things you actually want to be keeping your eye out for when you're observing to see if you can, what's actually stress inducing for your dog. Are they actually able to handle that turn, or is that what's being the catalyst to their discomfort? Is it the brakes? Is it the acceleration? How do they do on slow speed streets versus like highways? And the thing is anxiety doesn't have to just be the paralysis, and it also doesn't have to be the nuisance of the barking and the fiasco and the everything. Sometimes it's as subtle as frenziness. This still needs to be treated, because especially if your dog has a generalized anxiety or gets anxious with specific triggers, this is not helping your dog's learning overall with everything else in the universe. Here's an example of Fiona in the car. You'll see that she demonstrates more subtle discomfort. And so if you're finding that your dog is getting in the car, but is still showing some of these signs of stress, that still tells you may need to start your training outside of the car, which we'll get to in just a moment. You really need to do these experiments to test if I'm in motion, is that going to cause my dog to go over threshold? If I'm braking, is that going to cause my dog to go over threshold? If I'm turning, what about the car is actually triggering and alarming for my dog? So you're finding that baseline to make sure you're not training when your dog is like this. This is not a healthy state for any dog to be learning. In fact, the starting point for many dogs when they're treating car anxiety is inside the house. Once you realize that your objective is to start the training where your dog is already feeling comfortable, safe, isn't already over threshold, isn't already experiencing panic, once you realize that, many people actually start their training within the house. That's perfectly normal. That's perfectly okay. So let's say you decide that your dog does indeed need to train outside of the car, that she's not quite ready to get in the car. That's okay. You can still do this process. We can still desensitize. So this is V, and they're all the way in France. We love them so much, but it's freaking cold. So they're really taking their time, nevertheless, with getting V comfortable with the car. So in a moment, you'll see the car. It's currently off screen, but it's all the way over here on this side. And you're going to see how they get V more comfortable approaching the car, and everything is on a loose leash, everything is on a long leash. So they start off with the car closed, like all the doors are closed. This is an excellent way to decrease criteria, because if the car door is open, that will increase the criteria and the challenge, right? So she's going to step towards it. She's going to get a treat just for approaching the car. I really love when they throw the treat away, because that's an awesome reset. It gives the dog the opportunity to come back in again. So she's going to engage with the car. She's going to get a treat just for engaging with it, right? She gets to back away anytime that she wants. Mom increases the difficulty, see what happens. V immediately goes, hey, hey, hey now, right? That's okay. So we'll let her reset. She gets to escape, right? And you can see those ears go back, sensitivity, real low, and the body posture. That's okay. We're gonna move slow again. We're gonna let V explore. There's no pressure to get in the car at this stage. All we're asking is every single time you approach the car, you're gonna get a treat. And again, I love it when they feed to mouth, but especially when they feed away, that gives us the most authentic reapproach. So we can really see the dog say, yes, I'm ready. So she approaches and she gets a treat. She engages with the car, she gets a treat. She engages with the car. She could see a little bit skeptic there. She's not quite sure. So now the difficulty is higher than it was before because that door is closed and V's very aware. She's keeping her eye on it. She's like, I don't know about that. So at this point, I would have ended the training session, right? Right here, I would have been like, okay, I got the message. This is a little too hard for you. And when we resumed, I would have closed that car door again to see if she's still willing to get closer. Okay, here's another great video of Mr. Angus working on his car anxiety. And you'll see that in this video, they're also trying to get Angus in the car and start to approach the car. I'm just gonna let this play out for you and then we'll talk about it. All right. Again, getting those treats as he approaches the car. They're doing a method called scatter feed where they are throwing a bunch of treats in the car to see if that's going to encourage him to get inside. Letting that U-turn, letting him reapproach is so important. Letting him volunteer to say, yes, I'd like to come back. So again, treating far away. He's got a healthy expression here. Angus is a pretty low-key guy anyway. He's not going to be very boisterous with his behaviors. So for him, this is like super brave, super like confident behavior for Angus. See him exploring the world. He's going to come right back in, getting in the car. There you go. So as soon as he approaches, they should get that yes treat right now, as opposed to beforehand. It should be that he gets in, then yes feed. Again, this is early in their recovery journey, so they're still working that out. Now, once you get your dog in the car, instead of focusing on turning it on right away, I really recommend just practicing calm behavior in the car. Just practice letting your dog kind of hang out, maybe get some treats, demonstrate some skills if you want, but don't worry about turning on the car necessarily. Just really let your dog get comfortable with it. Yes, at first, this will cause your dog to be a little bit more frustrated because they're just going to be confused. They're like, wait, we're just sitting in the car chilling. Yes, you are. You're just sitting in the car chilling, and there's no reason why we need to drive anywhere. You can set a timer on this. The best way to start off is like 30 seconds, then a minute, then 3 minutes, then 5 minutes, and so forth. But giving your dog opportunity to practice that calm behavior in the car is going to make it easier for your dog to reference what's supposed to be happening once you start increasing the criteria of actually driving, right? So once you're ready, once you feel like, okay, the car is off, my dog's pretty chill, we're just vibing here, what's the next step? Then you want to start messing with the on-off cues, which is to say, you're putting the car or the keys in the ignition, you're putting on your seatbelt, you're maybe turning on the radio if you want, like whatever. You're turning that engine on. Maybe you're even moving the car in reverse so they can hear the click click of it, right? So all of these cues that tell your dog, okay, we're actually moving, those you want to start to desensitize. And every single time that you turn on the car, you're going to give your dog a treat. So in this case, you can see that they've increased the difficulty, which is one of the reasons why they are feeding Juniper more frequently, right? They have increased the difficulty by giving her Some like, I think they turned on the car at this point. You can see she's a little bit more alert. She's in that sit. So feeding her through this, because we've increased the difficulty, is key. As difficulty increases, rate of reinforcement, frequency of feeding goes up. Now, you can also choose to practice this stationary if your dog is reactive to other dogs, people, stimuli inside the car. Like, for example, Pippin here is just parked at, I think they're like a parking lot, and they're just vibing, right? They're just hanging out in the car. Every single time that stimulus comes nearby, they are getting a treat for it, which they're doing that engage disengage protocol that I taught in my anxious dog lesson. So I will make sure that's linked in the description box if you are interested in working on through your dog's reactivity while inside the car. That's what's happening here. Okay. But you can see they're just chilling, they're parked, and they're also practicing the calm protocol also taught in that previous video. So as you can see, the main objective of treating your dog's car anxiety is to take this big task of going for a ride in the car with your dog into small pieces and parts that you train individually, get your dog comfortable with individually, and then combine them in one big picture. In order to do this, you're gonna need to create an effective training plan that you create, not your trainer. So if you would like to learn how to do that, this is the video for you. Make sure you hit that and watch that next. Consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you get notified when I drop a new video. If you found this video super helpful, it'd be very helpful to me if you hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.